so much. Good afternoon. We are in between you and your lunch, but this is going to be sweet, so you're having dessert first. So good afternoon, and thank you so much to all the organizers. Big shout out for Gwen. She has done an amazing job organizing this panels and helping us put all this together. I have been with Virginia Tech for close to 3 decades, and a very exciting time at the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute with what we're doing. The largest group of safety professionals in the world under one umbrella, and it's at Virginia Tech, and one of the largest transportation institutes in the US. I wear a couple of other hats in addition to Chief Growth Officer, and we're going to be doing some stories to introduce ourselves. So I'll start, and one of those other hats that I think is very relevant for the discussion of the art of everything, where is this AI taking us, is as a senior safety advisor for Daimler Truck North America, the largest commercial vehicle manufacturer, as well as the CEO of the Dock2Door Coalition, over 90 organizations looking at how we can improve our supply chain, particularly in transportation logistics. So when we start looking at all these needs in transportation, which is a part of the everything that we're going to be looking at, we need to step back and see what is this possibility? How are we going to be doing this? We're going to be able to accomplish a lot through AI, but certainly there's much more ahead of us than what we have done, and we need to be very conscious about how we do this. In order to continue being a leader in the US on AI, we need to ensure that we understand what we need to assist with and how this AI needs to evolve. For example, AI is key for automated vehicles. Several people mentioned automated vehicles today, which made me very, very happy because I'm very passionate about it. But if you think about this, when we're looking and considering automated vehicles and the AI of transportation, we need to ensure that we're not focusing only on the technology piece. We call this a socio-technical system approach, where we look at the technology, but in order for that technology to evolve, it needs to be cemented in policies, in regulations. It needs to look also at other subsystems, like the human, as well as the ecosystem, which several of you work on that. My background, as I mentioned, is human factors, but something very important for me is when we look in those partnerships, not only as academics, not only as regulators or industry, how can we work together to be able to ensure that everything is what it's all exciting and sweet we can make it be. So when Daimler Truck came to Virginia Tech and said, we want to partner with you. We're acquiring Torc Robotics, which is an excellent Virginia Tech success story. And we would like you to be involved in trying to understand how we bring safety, how we bring regulations into that AI component. So with that, I would say and encourage all of you to tell us kind of a little bit of your story, but more importantly, how we are going to be disrupting different fields, but at the same time, how we're going to be accountable, how we're going to be transparent, and how we're going to respect the privacy of others. So we have an amazing panel, and we're going to be telling a little bit of a story where I urge you to tell us about your role and how your role intersects with AI. What is your current use or perspective of AI, and how particularly your type of organization will morph potentially with AI as it evolves. So Would you like to get us started, Doug?
I guess I will. Thank you very much, Myra. Appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm Judd Nicholson. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at WMATA, which is the Washington Metro Area Transportation Authority. It's kind of a mouthful, or DC Metro. I've only been there about 18 months. Prior to that, I did a long 12 years in Georgetown University. My role is unique. I'm the first person to fill the role. I report directly to the general manager, which is a little bit different. And there's a reason I'm not a CIO and I am a chief digital officer, because I think just what you spoke to, my role is, one, not only to really look at our core IT and technical infrastructure, but look at how does digital and technology bring business value. And to really be reaching into what is a very traditionally paper-based organization, and exciting them around innovation and how to use technology, and then making sure all the back-end systems work. There was no AI strategy before I arrived. There's only a nascent AI strategy since I've arrived. We've started to deploy AI in things like chatbots in our Metro Access service, which is the service we provide to folks with disabilities or can't use our system. And that has been very successful. Our constituents, our customers really enjoy it. And so we're basically using that as our building block. AI, in my opinion, will really transform the way that we do business, whether that is at the customer-facing end of how we deliver information and trip planning and on-time information to our customers, but also how we basically manage the entire breadth of our infrastructure and our rolling stock, which is all our buses and our rail vehicles. And so we've really started to put together our plan to build those pieces and parts on the data, the foundation, the networking fabric that's required to do that. And that's just where we've kind of started our journey and on our way to the promise of AI. So,
excellent story. Kevin?
All right, Myra, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Lane. I'm a principal at Deloitte, and I've been with the firm for 25 years. And I have the privilege of being our trusted and secure AI leader specific to the higher education subsector. So it's my job to work with colleges and universities and educational systems around the country in understanding how to lean into AI in a responsible manner. And when I think about the story that's probably most directly touches me relative to AI, it's been around for a long time. And we've been working with it, like many organizations, for a very long time. But it really sort of got front and center a couple of years ago with the release of some of the major commercial solutions in AI that became available. And when you're in professional services, and all of a sudden a new gadget comes out, and it can write a 30-page report in about 10 seconds, and wow, the consulting guys are sitting there like, that's our job. And so there was a lot of colorful discussion, and we really studied it, and I think very quickly concluded that there's really nothing to be alarmed about, in the sense that, yes, it's going to disrupt professional services. Yes, it's going to cause things to change, but that's good. That's really good, because what we see it as is as an opportunity. Those professional services firms, those consulting firms that embrace AI and transform their workforce and enable their workforce to be AI workers in the delivery of their consulting services are going to be the ones that really put more white space between them and their competitors as they move up into the right. So we've invested a tremendous amount of energy and fuel into transforming our workforce. My partner, Ed Bowen, who spoke on the previous panel, mentioned some of the things that we've been doing. But it's a long-term strategic commitment that we've made. We're kind of eating our own dog food. So what we work with clients on and encourage them to do, we're doing it ourselves. And I'm just tremendously excited to be on both sides of that equation, working with clients and working internally in that space.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lane Dilg. I'm the head of strategic initiatives on the global affairs team at OpenAI, and absolutely delighted to be here with Virginia Tech and with all of you today. My job at OpenAI is an incredibly enviable one. I get to work with the public sector to try to help understand how our technology can help to solve hard problems. I spent almost 2 decades in the public sector, everything from working in the Senate Judiciary Committee and a little bit the Intel Committee, as you heard from Senator Warren this morning, as a staffer there, to working on the research side of higher education, to federal prosecution, to city management, and ultimately to the Department of Energy. In all of those spaces, I had the opportunity to see spaces where we wanted to go further. And what I think I'm most excited about with the technology is the fact that it is easy to approach from many different vantage points. So at OpenAI, one of our key themes really is iterative deployment, trying to make sure that people have access to the technology in different ways that are safe and responsible at different points in time. But what you see with ChatGPT is this opening where suddenly people who were not developers had the opportunity to understand where AI was going and to really play with it and work with it themselves. And coming from the public sector, that is one of the things that I am most excited about, is to actually have people have the ability to work with these tools and to use their own creativity and subject matter expertise to really think about, what can this do for me? How can this actually move the work that I've been trying to do for many years forward? In some cases, how can it accelerate? In some cases, how can it help me solve a problem that I previously wasn't able to solve? So we are incredibly excited and really, really pleased to be here with Virginia Tech today.
Thank you. Todd?
I'm Todd Borky. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Huntington Ingalls. We're the largest employer in Virginia and Mississippi. We have about 40,000 people building ships and about 7,000 engineers and scientists doing R&D and engineering services. We do about $1 billion of RDT&E, which has given us an incredible lens into AI and the issues around the DoD that we work and serve. So our journey in AI began around 2017 when we saw the first BERT transformer algorithms revolutionize the contextual understanding of language. We knew it would change the world, and we immediately began putting about 80% of our R&D into AI-enabled processes. And today, in my career, as the CTO, my role is R&D investment, driving technical strategy, and frankly, there's never been a more generational moment of our need to build far more ships per unit time than ever before. So we had been practicing AI since 2018, and we all got a whiplash in 2023 when generative AI came out. It's so much more than Q&A. It's about automation. It's about production. Tailored data flows with tailored co-pilots across the functions from a high recency depiction of an enterprise twin is here. I believe in 5 years, every company on Earth will be valued by the quality of its enterprise twin. So it's a very exciting time, and I'm trying to it's like a rodeo, and I'm trying to kick it with spurs. Yeah.
Perfect. We'll start and backwards in the direction. So moving to a very interesting topic that some of the people talk, but I would love to hear your specific experience on what you're doing in implementing AI. What ethical considerations do you prioritize? And how do you ensure that AI deployment aligns with your organization values? Todd, would you care to start?
Sure. So in our business, data provenance and model provenance is strategic, right? Nuclear propulsion information is sensitive. It's secured in very special ways, and so the cyber dimension to our work is critical. So we have a lot of on-prem GPUs, but trust me, we also do big data projects, and in today's multi-level secure cloud stack, you can get bidirectional cross-domain capabilities to literally manage data at the enterprise with more velocity and precision than ever before. We're in this new era where we will win as a nation and we will win as companies, where edge inference will distill data, aggregate information out of previously unstructured voluminous data, get it through now decluttered data links back to some place where we'll draw large strategic decisions, change courses of action, and have it literally a connected edge where humans ashore, humans at sea will be sharing microservices, and we'll win by information. And in the defense space, you got to know first, then know more, every second. And with we all see and we watch the news, weapons are getting faster, which means computation times and latencies have to go down, and more human-machine teaming is needed to prevail. So it's a very technically tumultuous time. It's also a voluminous, it's a real challenge for us to produce more technology more quickly. So I think the cyber side of it is our greatest, I'll call it, values and important issue. We also, I think, are also wanting to, we apply AI to safety. We are driving AI to find leading indicators of constraints and safety risks so they don't occur in the shipyards. That's a very exciting, the power of natural language processing, even just on your enterprise email, and do all kinds of things to understand the quality of designs, understand the constraints on processes, the stresses that workers are having in getting to outcomes. So it's really about information distillation to the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I want to pick up on a lot of what Todd said. I think we, strongly agree that we win and democratic AI wins by innovation. I think that we are very focused on driving the leading edge of capability and safety simultaneously. To us, those are one and the same in some ways. In that we are always trying to lead the technical solutions, both that have the greatest capabilities, but that cannot in any way be delinked from the safety. And because of that, much of our safety work is highly technical. We use our own models as well as, obviously, as well as extensive human intervention to make sure that our models are as safe as they can be. That includes, for example, our recent innovations that we've released this year. If you look at Sora, which is text to video, we clearly made a deployment decision there not to release that broadly to the public. So that is still in limited research preview, even as we know that it has that capability to understand how objects move in the world, and we understand how important that capability can be. We also know that there are risks, which is why it is not yet deployed publicly. I think if you look at 4.0, you will see us trying to make the decision technically to drive more capabilities into our free product. And that's really important in advancing our mission to benefit all of humanity, to provide more access and more access to more capability. And then if you look at Strawberry, which we just released, or O1, you can see that we are making new innovations that are in the post-training phase and that are leading us potentially to be able to solve hard problems in ways that we were not able to do before, particularly in scientific discovery and other areas. But those same technical interventions and solutions are also important to our own safety mechanisms, because the model becomes better at reasoning itself about where safety rules and norms, where human values should apply to trigger moderation in different ways. So all of it really being one and the same, looking at the safety and responsibility as well as the capabilities together.
Big ethical implications for sure, yeah.
Well, so rather than pile on to Todd and Lane, and I agree completely with your commentary, I think I'll use an analogy that I'm sure just about everybody in the audience has heard, where we talk about race cars going fast, right? It's not difficult to drive a race car really fast and crash. And pretty much any of us could do that. But that's why we have a brake system in a race car. The brakes allow you to go fast and do it safely. So in fact, the brakes aren't there necessarily solely to slow you down, but to keep you going fast in a safe manner. So those protocols, these processes around the safety and responsible development and use of AI, they're in fact enablers. They're not constraints, but they are enablers that allow organizations to achieve the full potential and the impact that we're all expecting out of AI. In Trusted and Secure AI in our business, we really focus with clients on thinking about that deliberately upfront and embedding that in the development and deployment process so that there's a contemplated method and a governance framework for how organizations go about doing exactly what you all just described. And that comes with everything, including what are the guardrails, what are the four walls of this AI, and what it's allowed to talk about and not talk about. Taking my own subsector, higher education, for example, we're hearing about institutions experimenting more and more with things like student counseling or student health using AIs. Well, think about a very sensitive topic where if a student were to enter a prompt indicating that they were having troubles or thinking about doing something harmful, well, you might want to constrain that AI to not address certain topics out of a matter of risk management and out of a matter of human safety. So those are things that when you think about guardrail development, when you think about protection of database vectors, the testing of the AI and the prompt testing, all the different aspects of gaining confidence and assurance at the outset of the AI's development and deployment. That's where we spend time, and I hear those very same themes reflected in what you've both spoken about.
Yep. So I'll just take your race car analogy and apply it towards buses and trains. Because I do think that ultimately that's at the core of what we do at WMATA is deliver like safe, reliable, convenient bus and rail service. And I think buried in all those is what you all have just said, is the critical infrastructure aspect of it, making sure that the ecosystem is secure and safe for us to, like a little bit of experimentation with AI. I think when I first started the job, I felt like I was at a disadvantage because there were none of these projects started, but I think also it was an advantage of it's still a struggle to temper the excitement and give people that safe place to do the iterative deployments and things, but also we're in the position now of really being thoughtful about the ecosystems we build to pull those 250 channels off of our rail cars, to do the data synthesis and analysis and do that in a safe environment that helps us move to predictive maintenance rather than what we do now is preventive maintenance. So along with agreeing with everything that my panelists have said, that's the really important part of what we do is making sure that service is safe and reliable and that we're not putting any of our critical infrastructure at risk.
And that also plays potentially into the trust of what you're trying to do because people get that exposure. And it might not be directly with the vehicles, but it's with something that will benefit them. So
Yep.
That's extremely smart. So as we move into that AI transformation, Kevin and Lane, this one, I would like you to help me with it. So one key limiting factor for AI is the importance on understanding the adoption rate that will serve as a ceiling and as an artificial ceiling on how much we're able to pace this and realize the promise and the impact that AI can have in innovation. So recognizing that, what should industry be doing to drive that rate of adoption?
Yeah, thank you, Mara. And I'll kick off by saying that adoption, there's really a lot of human considerations that go into it. I would imagine if we were to poll the room, the vast majority of the companies represented by the audience today, you've heard a lot about AI from your leadership. Maybe you've been provided with some AI solutions at a desktop level that allow you to do your job a little bit better. If we were to poll the group again and say, how many of you are using it on a regular basis, or how often are your colleagues using it on a regular basis? I think across most industries, we're seeing the further you go down into organizations, there is some reticence to quickly adopt and regularly use AI. So providing the right kind of encouragement, providing the right kind of training opportunities, providing the right kind of experiences that allow our workforce to develop confidence and comfort with AI, I think is really important so that they will become more regular users. And there are parallels to this throughout history with the introduction of any new technology in the business workplace. It takes a little time to kind of get things jump-started. Clients often ask about getting started. Where do you start? And there's no shortage of opportunities on where to get started. I find that when I speak with clients, quite often there's this maybe a predisposition to want to do something really revolutionary or do something really grand. I actually encourage clients to think about the opposite. Instead of look forward, why don't we practice this once and look backward? Ask yourself, most companies, if you ask them, have you ever had a process or something that you really want to integrate into your workflow and your processes, but gosh darn it, we just don't have enough headcount or we don't have enough resources? Well, AI, one of the game-changing aspects of it is it really changes the calculus on what you now can do with technology, and you don't necessarily need as many heads to do those same things as what it's been in the past. So you might be able to look back and you've got a slight gap or a soft spot in your processes or your workflow that you can now shore up without the headcount by deploying AI. And that might be an easier introduction, an easier way to kind of wade into the shallow end of the pool rather than jumping in the deep end. So one opportunity among many, and I think it's an important question to talk about adoption and how to get people comfortable ultimately getting into that deep end of the pool.
Yeah, I really like Kevin's reference to comfort and confidence. I think that is something that we see really accelerating entities that are really trying to move forward with adoption. The example I would point to on that would be, we have worked with Moderna, and they actually have been quite rapid in their adoption across their entire enterprise. And from my vantage point, I love this use case because Moderna obviously, ultimately, the outcome that they're trying to achieve is bringing to market products that will provide greater health for people. As they're doing that, they're moving through a highly regulated process that requires quite a bit of back-end productivity. And what they've done is they've provided ChatGPT Enterprise to their workforce and really enabled experimentation for everyone across their organization really to be thinking, how can this help me to do my job better? And they've found that that is really accelerating the back-end productivity. At the same time, they're also working with their scientists on what does this mean for drug discovery. And by doing both, the ability to actually accelerate bringing life-saving drugs to market is substantial because you're moving both the science and the back-end productivity at the same time. And as we look through a variety of different sectors, those two pieces will be quite key. You want to be moving both at the same time. Right now, the tools are quite good on the productivity, but doing that productivity is also encouraging that hands-on adoption, the comfort and confidence that helps people learn, and to our conversation about safety and capabilities, it helps people learn quickly both how will this help me, and also where am I personally concerned? What are the risks that my organization needs to be thinking about as we move along this adoption curve? So I would echo quite a bit of what's been said here.
It's very interesting. Sometimes there's a lot of myth about how things happen that impact that growth. I remember being in the Google campus, and we were running multiple projects there, and there was a press event, and I was part of it, and one of the reporters was escalating some topics, and he asked me, but Myra, why you want to take truck drivers' jobs out? And I didn't see it that way, and all of a sudden I said, no. Did you know that a truck driver average lifespan is 10 to 15 years shorter than ours? I want to give them those 15 years back, and I want them to be at night with their family. He didn't ask me any more questions after. So when we talk about scalability, John and Todd, what challenges have you faced in scaling AI solutions across various functions in your organizations, and how we're able to overcome those? So would you like to?
Well, I'll start because Todd's at a different place than we are at Omada, but I think for us, it really is looking across all of our data stores. I mean, we have data everywhere in silos, and we really have to think about like where, and rail cars and rolling stock that collect mountains and mountains of data that doesn't go anywhere. Ultimately, for us, it is building the infrastructure and the ecosystem to where we can actually get that data in a place that then can be managed and synthesized and really ready for AI. So for us, The issue is we're just basically starting the journey and are really looking at how do we get those siloed data into places that can be used and leveraged by AI. So for us, it's just kind of this crawl, walk, run, and the scalability certainly is an issue for us. We have to look long term. And before I arrived, a lot of the work we did was on-premise. We had multiple on-premise data centers, and certainly from a back-end perspective, we couldn't have scaled, and we certainly could not have scaled fast. We've since moved into Azure, we've moved into Equinix, and basically put in place at least the platform ability and the back-end ability to start really thinking about how do we support our entire enterprise and not just maybe these bespoke areas that are right fit for AI.
Yeah, there's so many dimensions to scalability. Scalability every year gets easier for a lot of reasons. I won't go back into talent. We all are talent constrained, and scalability is talent, has a talent dimension to it for sure. But I'm blown away at the quantity of make-buy decisions I face now as a CTO. We, with 7,000 developers in engineering services, we do a lot of DIY projects.
Yeah.
So we have this DIY orientation, but we have to break it because now there are companies coming to us with sophisticated AI middleware for industrialists like us, where I can literally have apps for pre-developed functions. I have ETL tools that bring data from my back office systems. They don't put me in technical debt with model agility. I get to compete models in the gymnasium in their environments. So I'm excited about that. That drives scalability. On the customer side, AI is still evangelical. In the government, you don't matriculate by taking risk. So we constantly have to evangelize the customer what the art of the possibility is and partner with them. So new business models are really a big deal. And a big chunk of our business, we found that turnkey contracts where we bring the data, the models, the analysts, and the compute environments were a way that the government, without risk, could accelerate to outcomes. So we did a lot of that. And that was a very successful outcome for us. But scalability is changing every 6 months. You look in the mirror and we would have a different conversation in 6 months from now. The models keep getting better, they keep democratizing, tools become smarter. We can take an engineer, I can take a double E with digital signal processing experience and make them an AI practitioner now with the tools in 10 weeks, right? So that's huge. So I think we have to invest in getting the people across the finish line and stay on top of all the available tech that's being made for us.
Very exciting times. So we're coming to a close, and I want to do a little bit of rapid fire for the panel. A lot of diversity, a lot of different things. So take note because these are going to be potentially the challenges that we are going to be talking about next year or 5 years from now. So what are the top 2 biggest challenges in AI for what we're calling the AI of everything? So it's not you can focus on your field, but think about the impact that might have in the next 10 years. Very good thesis and dissertation topics for the students in this. So I'll start and let you think for transportation, I think the regulatory environment is going to be one of the hardest challenges because it moves slow for a reason, and at the same time, moving at the pace that it should move, it could be a great barrier for implementation of this technology. And my number 2 is that it will take time and a lot of research for AVs, the AI of that transportation, to work reliably and safely 24/7, 365 in rural environments and during adverse weather. So those are my 2.
Okay. For me, it's probably the security aspect, as well as in an organization like mine, this balance between security, but still being open and transparent as a federal or as a quasi-organizational government or quasi-governmental organization. The other thing is how to balance the speed and the reality of actually what can be implemented.
I think I see some parallels in the concerns, and the way that I would express it when I talk with clients, there is obviously a very significant workforce transformation element to this, and I won't beat up the talent topic anymore. We've heard a lot about that today, but it really is going to be critical especially over the next decade as we transform the workforce. I think in addition to that, when I think about major challenges, to me, it's having cognizance of the pace at which this is going to evolve, the pace at which AI the capabilities around it are just going to augment dramatically over the next few years. And we've heard about that throughout various speakers this morning. It's really critically important that we remain hyper-vigilant and hyper-agile in all of these topics we talked about responsible AI, safety, security, privacy, intellectual property protection. The AIs are going to get smarter and smarter and smarter, and they're going to find ways to break that are ever more clever, and we're just going to have to stay on top of that with an increasing level of focus, I think.
Yeah, I think I would pick up on some of that. I do think that the pace of adoption in the public sector, in our federal government institutions and beyond, is really important and is really hard. It's complex, and it's complex for a reason. But it is a space where we also need to move quickly. And that, I think that challenge, as you're in the middle of it, is a real challenge that we have to approach together. How do we safely and responsibly adopt? How do we deal with the pace of technological progress? And how do we also harness that? To use, I'm from Texas, so I'll use a horse analogy. How are we actually going to both rein it in, steer in the right direction, and also move at the pace that we need to move?
Yeah, for me, it's all about data orchestration. Some very different divisions. Shipbuilding and R&D are very, very different environments. And data orchestration is extraordinary. I have static data, slow data, and we can sample a satellite constellation 1,000 times a second, right? So there's the data velocity, there's the data orchestration before what is ultimately going to be models orchestration, and then all the while getting 40,000 people to be really good at prompt engineering, right? So those are two revolutions at the same time. Managing your data smartly and making everybody great prompt engineers is what I fear, how fast we can do that.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, this has brought us to an end. Thank you, everybody. And let me thank the panel, and please give them a round of applause.